Hello, everybody, and welcome to our next conversation that's part of Empowerthon, which is the inaugural summit fundraiser for the Parent Tween Connection. And I would like to welcome our next guest, Jack Murray. He is an elite level soccer player, and he is the youngest life coach I have ever met. So, without further ado, good morning, Jack. Actually, good afternoon to you. Glad to have you with us today. How are you?
I'm great. I'm super excited to be here and talk with you because I think what you are doing is absolutely fantastic with Empowerthon, and I'm so happy that I can be a part of it with you guys.
Absolutely. And I'm excited to have folks from an array of backgrounds and an array of experiences with us. So, for those of you tuning in, if you're not familiar with Parent Tween Foundation or Parent Tween Connection, I'm Clarissa Constantine and I'm the founder. Welcome to your first experience. Parent Tween Connection is where parents go when they don't know where to go to get help for themselves or for their kids, primarily kids between the ages of 10 and 20. But we certainly do have families who have younger kiddos and families who have older kiddos as well. And the Parent Tween Foundation is the nonprofit charitable leg of Parent Tween Connection. Because it's one thing to say to families, hey, here's the folks who can help you. But if the financial gap that still exists is prohibitive, what's the point in introducing you to the professionals? So our mission is to help bridge that gap that so frequently exists between families and the help that they need. We are live streaming to our Facebook group, our YouTube channel, and our LinkedIn page. If you would like to join us in our Parent Tween Connection Facebook group, come on over. It's very simply Parent Tween Connection. I do have it open on the other screen. I can see requests coming through. I can also see questions that you ask as we go. So if you're tuning in through LinkedIn or YouTube and you have questions or comments, go ahead and comment there. We just don't see them as frequently or as readily while we're live, but we'll circle back and answer them. So without further ado, we have Jack Murray. Like I said, he is the youngest life coach I've ever met. You're 14?
Yes, exactly.
And what I loved about Jack when I first engaged with him, when he first said, hey, I'd be interested in participating in Empowerthon. Number one is most 14-year-olds don't know that a life coach exists. They don't know what it is. And for adults who do know what a life coach is, they might look at you, Jack, and go, 14? What the heck kind of life experience do you have that you can be a coach? But you're a high level athlete. And I think there's a unique perspective that you can offer relative to coaching kids when you are super close in age to them, right? Some people see that as a limitation, but like I actually started as an SAT and ACT coach when I was 19 and my clients were 16. So having been there as a young coach, I know, hey, being super close, I remember really well what it was like where sometimes like the adults have forgotten life as a teenager, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it can be like that. But yeah, I do agree with you. I think that it's a fantastic asset that I have, that I'm able to be in close age, and I really understand what it takes to be an elite level athlete and things like that.
Sure. So let's actually start. I'm going to pull your slides up.
Okay.
And why don't you give us a little bit of your history so that we can kind of anchor this conversation in your own experience? And by the way, adults, if y'all's teens are hanging around, you probably want to have them like tune in. So, half an hour of their life that they'll be glad they didn't get back because it'll be worthwhile time. So, Jack, who the heck are you? Where are you? How did you get there?
Yeah. So who am I? So my name is Jack Murray. Like you said, I'm an elite level athlete. I'm originally from Canada, Nova Scotia, but I now play in Portugal in the Portuguese First Division. And I'm also, like you said, a motivational mindset and peak performance coach primarily for teen and tween athletes. And I'm also an ENFP, and I love to see how I can help you get to feel, being, and performing at your best.
I love that you mentioned the ENFP. For those of you that don't know, that's Myers-Briggs
Yeah.
personality exploration. Extrovert, oh man, I don't remember it. Don't worry about it. But if you don't know, ENFP, go Google it. That'll tell you more about Jack.
Yeah, exactly. I think I love tests like that. And I think it can give you some really interesting insights into yourself.
Yeah.
But to give you a little bit of backstory on why I think mindset is so important, it's because when I was 4 years old, I was diagnosed with a rare autoimmune disorder that actually severely affected my motor skills. And as a 4-year-old, having to go to clinics, do tests, and I think you can imagine how scary that can be for
Mm-hmm.
a 4-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I have this one vivid memory of like, I remember once I had gone to Toronto. My parents and I had gone to Toronto to try and figure out more information about the illness and what was wrong. Um, and it was around Christmas time, so my parents actually took me to the Santa Claus parade in Toronto as like a little treat, something good before having to go to the doctor. And but even though that time was difficult, I believe that you gain new capabilities and
Mhm.
learn lessons and become stronger from every challenge you face. And as someone who I really admire, Lisa Nichols says, you gain something every time you bounce back. You bounce back with something that you did not have before. And because of
Mhm.
that, it makes you more complete and better and like more equipped to deal with the challenges that you will face in the future, right?
I had a mentor actually yesterday tell me that there's lessons in everything, right? Like, and I knew this, but hearing it repeated, even I'm, 3 times your age at this point, but even I need the reminders of like, there's a lesson in everything. Sometimes you get what you expect or what you'd like, but other times there's a lesson that you can take out of it that helps you in another direction that you hadn't even anticipated.
Yes, definitely. And oftentimes you don't even realize or have any idea on how it's going to help you. Like I remember I've had times where I've been disappointed about something and then it opens a completely new door. I'm like, wow, this is awesome.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
but yeah, and what I was, and yeah, like, and I think also that was really evident with this illness, with this challenge in particular, because even though it was a tough time for me, I learned a lot about mindset. I learned how to talk through my emotions. I learned how I became grateful that even though I had this illness, people were trying to help me. They were trying to actively help me, and I also had to foster a good kind of thing, like I could get better. I could get better, and I had to believe that. And I feel like that's also the kind of thinking that allows me to also face the ups and downs of being a teen athlete as
Hmm.
well. Um,
Well, and it's interesting because I'm making a couple of notes as you
yeah.
chat. What I'm hearing, number one, is talking through emotions. A lot of kids don't learn how to do that because a lot of adults don't know how to do that, and that's a life skill that is so imperative. Like even as an adult, dealing with my adult parent, and navigating emotions with my dad and his new wife, and learning to talk through those things, like it's a different skill than many adults have ever had. And when you mentioned that you recognize people were trying to help, in my brain that goes, okay, gratitude. And
Yeah.
so many coaches and motivational speakers and mindset professionals talk about, if you find something to be grateful for, it connects you to something that is larger than self. And a lot of our mission at Parent Tween Connection is ultimately to help decrease, God willing, ultimately eliminate teen suicide. And studies have shown that connections to something greater than yourself help to lessen the likelihood of suicidal ideation. So I love that you bring that up. I just wanted to kind of tie that into even a bigger picture maybe than some folks listening might have thought.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with that. Like, I think gratitude is like so important, and like I've practiced gratitude like a lot. Like my parents actually gave me, like they're both entrepreneurs and into mindset, and they gave me my first like gratitude journal at the age of like 8 or 9, and I found that like that has also fostered kind of like a really good mindset, and also I think made me happier as an individual.
I love it.
Um, but also I would but what also happened was when I was developing my mindset and I loved like soccer, I organically kind of married my love of mindset and sport together. And like that's how I became motivational mindset and peak performance coach for teens. And like
That's
I said,
awesome.
I primarily work with teen athletes. But I think that the correct mindset is so important in all aspects of life. And that's why I've also worked with teens that aren't athletes. That aren't athletes too. I've worked with teen entrepreneurs a little bit. I've worked with teens that have goals outside of sport, very specific
Hmm.
goals like getting better public speaking, more confidence,
Hmm.
crushing limiting beliefs, and things like that
Hmm.
too.
Well, and I was thinking a lot of what you talk about, my background is in music and the
Mhm.
arts,
Yeah.
and, really being able to, similarly to teen athletes, like there are few professional opportunities for teen athletes once they go, through college and such. And it's similar for folks in the arts. Like there's just not as many, if anything, there's more opportunities in the arts, I think, there's a wider spectrum, but so much of the mindset is the mindset keys are consistent across any area where you
Mhm.
want to improve your abilities.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. So where are we going next?
Just trying to press it, but yeah.
There we
So
go.
here is the 4 pillars of a complete athlete. And when I take athletes through my program, I show them the 4 pillars of a complete athlete. And basically that's skill, sport IQ, character, and mindset. And skill is basically like your on-field ability, like really your skill, your talent, and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Sport IQ is how intelligently and how well you make decisions. Like knowing where to pass the ball or making intelligent decisions, knowing when to make the play go faster, knowing when to make the play go
Mm-hmm.
slower, knowing
Mm-hmm.
where to take the ball and things like that. Character is like the tiny little things that can seem small but are so powerful. Like motivating your teammates, having lots of discipline,
Mm-hmm.
um, and like I would also say that like it in soccer, like even just having that discipline, like doing 18 minutes a day makes you 99% better than everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like outworking your potential.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then mindset too. It's like mindset is kind of like I would describe it as the way you kind of like view the world and the way you're operating, the level
Mm-hmm.
and frequency that you're operating at.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and your mindset dictates so much of how you view the world and everything, like
Mm-hmm.
everything, including in sports too.
Well, and for I'll ping a little thought in here for those of you who are like, what the heck is mindset? We in the coaching world and the personal development world, we talk a lot about having a growth mindset versus a
Mhm.
fixed mindset. And if you want more information on that, I would encourage you to pick up a copy of the book called literally Mindset by
Okay.
Dr. Carol Dweck. And she dives into the difference between a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. And it's interesting that, in my observation of a lot of families, out of a place of wanting to keep their kids safe, a lot of the adults completely unintentionally engender a fixed mindset. Whereas, which basically means like I'm as smart as I am. I have whatever the good Lord gave me. Like my IQ is my IQ, and I am where I am, and I cannot get better.
Mhm.
Whereas a growth mindset says, you know what, I'm not there yet. There are opportunities for me to improve. And if you have that growth mindset, I think, Jack, then that speaks to
Yeah.
what you were saying
Yeah.
about like, if I don't think I can improve, why am I going to spend 18 minutes a day? Because what the heck, 18 minutes a day isn't going to make me stronger than 99% of the other people out there. So just wanted to note, if any of you want more information specifically on where some of that originated, this is like, I mean, you can see it's tabbed like crazy. It's like one of my Bibles, so to speak. So
Yeah. And
I
I love
love it,
that.
Jack.
Yeah, and I love that you bring that up because that is really what it is, a growth mindset. And
Mhm.
I love that you just have the book right there and then you're like, here it is.
I'm telling you, I reference it all the time.
Okay. I'm sure you do. I'm sure it's a great book, but I haven't heard of it, but I'm definitely gonna check that out after this.
Awesome.
So now in the talk, we're gonna focus on 4 keys to peak performance, and they are confidence, visualization, game day tips, and comebacks. And we're gonna go over them a lot more in a second. But let's start with the first one, which is confidence.
Yeah.
And for me, I think confidence is really powerful, and I think it can rival most things in an athlete. It can rival almost anything as one of the most important things for athletes. Because I want to ask you a question: have you ever seen a player of any sport um, absolutely crush a game, be the man of the match, while looking so nervous and scared on the ball or puck
Nope.
or things like
Nope.
that? No,
Nope.
exactly.
Nope. Doesn't work like that.
No, it does not work like that. And it's because confidence gives you the power to kind of use your intelligence and use your skill to its
Hmm.
full potential. Your confidence raises your level and supports you. It supports your
Hmm.
skill and IQ, and then as a result, it raises your level of play, right? Um,
Absolutely.
and I think also confidence keeps you consistent, because it's kind of like this diagram. Can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. So if your confidence is at that lower line, you're gonna have things that hijack you. And
Mm-hmm.
life is full of ups and downs. So if you have like if you're in a game, and our brains have negativity bias, but if you're in a game and you have like a bad touch or something like that, you can get hijacked by that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and basically, if you're able to raise your confidence, you're able to kind of eliminate those other things so they don't hijack you and kind of mess up your performance, because our brain has negativity bias. And basically, what that means is that our brains focus more on the negative than
Mm-hmm.
the positive. And
Mm-hmm.
that can be really challenging too, especially like I said, if you take a bad touch, um,
Mm-hmm.
like if you take 5 good touches, but one really bad touch, then your
Mm-hmm.
brain is pretty likely to focus on the bad touch. Uh,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. Well, and the brain is hardwired to do that from a survival mechanism, because we have to look at the things that we perceive as threats, which in this
Mhm.
case, a negative experience on the field is a threat, right? It's not the like lion or tiger or bear, but it's certainly a potential threat. And so our brain is wired naturally to do that because we have to pay attention to the things that could take us out.
Yes, exactly. And it's exactly like that, exactly what you said. Um, and but I think one of the most important things you can do, like to kind of stop the negativity bias, is kind of to strengthen your own self-belief.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think raising self-belief is probably the best thing you can do to raise your confidence.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm going to do is, because I think it's really important. So I'm going to give you some exercises right now that you can try out to boost your self belief.
Yeah.
And I put quite a few in here because I love talking about self belief, and I think it's one of the most important things that you can do for your confidence. And I think in general it really helps you. So the first one is the success wall.
Uh-huh.
Um, and this is one of my favorite ones. And basically what it is like it's oftentimes we focus on what we can do better and what we should improve. And
Mm-hmm.
that is good. And we should try to actively improve, like with the growth mindset. But if
Sure.
we also don't appreciate ourselves and appreciate our past successes, then
Mm-hmm.
if we don't appreciate our past successes, then we're gonna get stuck in a cycle of always focusing on the negative and being like, we should do this, we should do this, we should do this, and never realizing, wow, I've done a lot. So basically,
Yeah.
what this is you can choose a wall in your house, and it can be a family success wall or a personal success wall. And all you do is you like put anything that you believe has been a past success, whether it's been like a writing project, straight A's, A plus, anything that you feel proud of, you put it
Mm-hmm.
on that wall or in that area. Um, and it's a great way to kind of real have your past successes be around you, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, well, it's like I think about like when kids are little, right? And we
Mhm.
have they're in preschool or kindergarten or first grade and they do this artwork or they get a good grade on a test or something like, right? It goes on the refrigerator.
Yeah.
And yet somehow between like second grade and sixth grade or seventh grade, for
Mhm.
some reason in many families, we don't put as many things on the refrigerator anymore. So this is like the taking care of yourself version of putting the cool picture on the wall, right? Like, look,
Yeah.
I did good. Like, it
Yeah.
doesn't just have to be somebody else who puts your stuff up. Like, we can put our own stuff up too. I love it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think also that kind of ties in, because I know some people, like especially if you really like that, like outside validation, having that picture on the wall or something equivalent to that can be really
Absolutely.
good. And then you want that and want that and want that. And
Hmm.
sometimes it gets more scarce and rare,
Hmm.
which is why I also think that success wall is fantastic.
Hmm.
Um, the second one is something that I do. It's one of the last things I do before I go out and play. So like in a game, like in the starting lineup, they'll walk out and then like you'll shake hands. But as I walk out, I have this exercise that I do. It's called the inhale confidence, exhale doubt exercise. Very literally. That very literal. It's a very literal name. But basically what I do is I inhale confidence and I imagine like golden confidence energy
Hmm.
coming into me, and then exhaling stagnant gray doubt out. And I do
I love
that,
it.
and then I kind of feel like a bit more confident, I find, especially when
Mhm.
I imagine that there's all this golden confidence energy within me.
Mhm.
And I find that that helps me start off the game in a good note, which is really good. And then the confidence pill, it's another really short one, and basically you can do it with a partner or by yourself. But basically, for 60 seconds straight, you're just telling yourself things that you're good at, things you're proud of, and it's kind of
Uh-huh.
like this success wall, except you're saying it in your mind to yourself, and it's like a
Great.
quick self-confidence boost. And
Mhm.
I did it, and I do this, and I find that it works like a charm all the time. It's like magic.
Mhm. Well, and part of that is because, like, I actually had one of my early therapists tell me that the brain doesn't recognize the difference between real and imaginary. So
Yes.
if you're imagining inhaling that golden confidence and then exhaling the stagnant gray yuck, right? The
Yeah.
doubt, like your brain is going, oh, okay, I'm getting rid of the crap and I'm bringing in the good stuff. And that reminder of the positive things absolutely has a physiological impact in the brain. I know a lot of people are like, oh, that's woo woo crap. And it's like, no, it's not. That studies have shown that what Jack is talking about absolutely has an impact. So love hearing it.
Yeah. And the next section is actually directly linked to that. And it's about visualization. And I think
Mhm.
for me, visualization, like you were just talking about, it's really powerful. But I think it's been one of my unfair advantages as an athlete for the longest time, because I've done this for a long time. I think it's been really powerful. Um, and after I have a show, CPL, where I interview professional soccer players and professional coaches in the Canadian Premier League, which is Canada's professional soccer league. And I've asked them about visualization. Like, do you do it? Does it help? And I'm pretty sure all of them have said, yes, it helps
Mhm.
100%. So there's more proof there that it does work.
Mhm.
And I think it's really powerful. And what I do is I imagine myself like doing good things in the game. Like if I'm driving to the field, like, well, my parents are driving and I'm sitting in the back and I'm sitting in the car. I
Right,
imagine,
because you're not old enough to actually drive yourself yet, but that's okay.
yeah, soon I'll be able to drive myself, but not quite yet. But yeah, so it's yeah, so in the car, I'll imagine myself doing good things, and it's just kind of because your brain doesn't know the difference, like you were talking about.
Uh-huh.
So I imagine myself doing good things, and that's just another thing I do, like another game day
That's awesome.
ritual that I do.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, wait, okay. Uh, there, can you see that? Yeah.
Yep.
And like you
There
said,
you go.
yeah, the brain doesn't understand the difference between what is real and what is not, which is another reason that visualization is great. Because if you're visualizing great things and you're like, oh, that's awesome. But now I want to tell you a study that I thought was so mind-boggling and more proof to the fact that yes, visualization does work and it's one of the best things you can do.
Mhm.
So a study with basketball players was done to see and they were practicing free throwing, and there were three groups. One group was asked for the duration of the study to practice three free throws, like physically, like practicing.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, Another group was asked to only visualize but never actually physically practice
Mhm.
um, for the same amount of time as the people that were shooting. And then the third group, well, they didn't do either. So as you can imagine, I think you can see where how well they did.
Uh-huh.
I'm sorry, excuse me. But yeah, the third group didn't do too well, but the group that physically practiced improved 24%.
Okay.
And the group that only did visualization, no actual practicing, actually improved 23%. So almost exactly equal. And
Mhm.
that and that's just another reason I'm like, yes, I'm always doing visualization.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I thought when you were describing the study that you were going to say that there was the third group had to do both. Like they were doing the visualization and the free throw because that's where my brain was going. I was like, I'm curious what that metric would have been. But
yeah.
well,
I would have been curious about that too, but the third group, no, they just didn't practice.
great.
I'm
Awesome.
And then the next section is the game day
Mhm.
tips and things like this. And this is just it's kind of like this is kind of similar to character because there are little things that will make a big impact. Sorry. Yeah, game
Yeah.
day. So I have 5 tips for game day, and I want to tell you about, and I'm gonna share them with you. Sorry, I just swallowed something. And I'm like coughing all the time. I think it's also from presenting.
I love how that goes. While you do that, a lot of this, again, being a musician myself and a singer, I've dealt with tremendous nerves and stage fright because I don't have an entire game to play. Like I don't have, a full football game or soccer game.
Yeah,
I've got, 7 minutes on stage with my quartet that I don't have a chance to go back and like, oh crap, the other team scored. Now I gotta, get it together and do better on the next drive. Like I've got
yeah,
7 minutes and that's it. We've got
yeah,
one shot and no redos, no do-overs. So a lot of what you're talking about are things that I can use, and some of them that I do, and some of them that I could do more that help, and to your point about like the breathing, I did that. We just had our regional contest of about 6 weeks ago with my new quartet. And we did exactly those types of things. As we were backstage, we were like, all right, we're just breathing in good. We're taking out, for us, it wasn't doubt, it was nerves. Because I knew we could do
yeah,
well. It was just like, I know when I go on stage, the nerves kick in. And so I was really trying to use that breathing and that visualization right
yeah,
backstage before the curtains opened. So I love that so much of what you're doing is about performance, not just athletic performance, like you said at the beginning. So,
yeah.
all right, game day.
Game day. So number one is always believe you are better than the opponent you face. And let me explain this. Sorry. I'm so sorry. As you know, I'm recovering from a flu, so I think this
Yeah.
is a part of it. But always believe you're better than the opponent you face. And it's not a cocky way, like I'm so much better than you. But if you're going into something and you think, and you're already thinking, oh my gosh, this guy that I'm facing against is so good. He's so tricky. He's good. He's such an amazing player. You've already kind of lost a mental battle. If you think he's so amazing and he's gonna kind of beat you, you can have respect for them, but you don't want to make it so like they're so good. I don't know if I can play against them. You want to have respect for them and not be cocky, but you want to make sure that you don't sell yourself short.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
Yep.
Number two, believe that every uncertain situation is meant to work out in your favor. So I think this is really powerful because life is not linear. Things happen and they surprise you. And then you got to figure out how to deal with them. And especially in games, sometimes like you'll get a red card. Sometimes the other team will get a lucky goal, a penalty, and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But believing that every uncertain situation is meant to happen in your favor is really, really powerful. Because like I said, you don't want to sell yourself short. Sorry, not the right word, but kind of you don't want to make it like, oh my gosh, this happened and now we're so unlucky and we've lost. Believe that everything is meant to work out. And sometimes I use I'm so sorry, but the analogy of like glasses. So putting on different pair of glasses, which is different perspectives, to see how this can maybe help you. Right?
Yep.
Number three, always believe you prepared enough for today. And it's kind of like that first one. Maybe you should have done more training. Maybe you should have prepared this a little more. But if you're going into that game thinking, oh my gosh, I have not prepared at all, then chances are you're going to not play that well. So even if you haven't prepared enough or as much as you should, believe that what you've done is enough for today. And you can do more next week or after this, right? Everybody makes mistakes and it's part of the game. So being solution oriented is really powerful. So like I kind of mentioned before, if you have one really bad touch, but one really bad touch, you just realize that that's in the past because you can't do anything about it. If you let it bug you in the moment, if you let it bug you and continue to ruin your play in the moment, then that's just making it worse. But you can stop that, say like, that's happened in the past. It's not great, but it's not affecting me anymore, and decide to do your next touch better. Because if you let that haunt you kind of, then it's just going to make more bad touches. So you have to realize, stop that and focus on this.
We call that getting in your head, don't we? Once you get in your head about it, man, things are all over. And it's like, you got to be able to take it. Just be like, nope, that's the past. Like you said.
Yeah.
Let it
but
be.
It can definitely be hard.
Oh, it can. I talk about that with my college-bound high school kids. Like if you feel like you have a rough reading passage, like, okay, that's over and done with. You can't change that. You can't change the way that you've used your time in this section up until now, but you can adjust going forward and just try to almost like compartmentalizing it.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Compartmentalizing it, just putting it over here. Yes, it happened, but you can. It's not. There's no way that that can help you, but you
Mhm.
can stop it from affecting you and making more things worse. Right.
Absolutely.
And then number 5, don't shy away in big moments. These are the things that you also train for. You've been training to, you know, um, uh, wait, sorry. You've been training to, yeah, sorry, I forgot about this slide. But
It's okay.
don't shy away in the big moments. These are big moments and you prepared for them. You've trained for
Uh-huh.
them. So now
Uh-huh.
it's just time to kind of put them in to play and put it
Mhm.
into action, all the training that you've done in the past.
Yeah.
Okay. And now, number 4, the last major key, in my opinion, that we're going to be talking about today is comebacks, because life is not linear. Like I said, there are ups and downs.
Uh-huh.
And I'm sure everyone has experienced them. But especially in sports too, there are a lot and you have to deal with them.
Uh-huh.
um, and the only that I say when I coach people is life is full of ups and downs, highs and lows, but it does not matter like what you get dealt at all, because lots of people get dealt really bad stuff, but it only
Uh-huh.
matters how you respond.
Right.
Um, because two people can be given the exact same situation or nearly identical, and one person can decide to let this bog them down. Another person can use their ability to get past it and use that as a driving force to get past adversity.
Mm-hmm.
And just like that, my illness when I was little that I still deal with, if I had let it bog me down, um, I would not be where I am today. But I use that. I kind of used that to my advantage to learn things, to
Mm-hmm.
gain more and better capabilities, and
Mm-hmm.
that has helped me.
Mm-hmm.
um, and I think it's also important because like sometimes you're recovering from an injury, um, and injuries are tough. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I also think when you get past them, it builds your resilience muscle too. And that can really help you when you get back on the field. So there are things that can really help you like that too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, or maybe you're starting to like doubt yourself, because that's a common thing for athletes. You can doubt yourself. Maybe a string of bad practices or bad games can really affect your confidence and your play.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also why confidence is very important. But
Right.
yeah, or maybe like a coach does not believe in you. And I'm going to tell you a secret, okay? I've had coaches tell me that I'm not an intense player, and if you know me, that's one of my trademarks. I've had coaches cut me. I've had coaches tell me that I'm too small. I've had coaches put me in different positions that I don't play as good. But I think I've also had coaches that have taken me within one practice, think I'm an amazing player. I've had coaches that tell me that I can go as far as I want in this game.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I've had coaches love me. So the thing is different coaches have different opinions, but you
Mm-hmm.
cannot let that define you, who you are,
Mm-hmm.
and more importantly as a person. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why like growth mindset is really powerful too. Like you can't let someone's opinion kind of put you into a fixed mindset.
Mm-hmm.
You have to keep kind of growing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I use an analogy that I love, but it's kind of like um but I also always but you're also always in charge of your response. Like I said,
Uh-huh.
the comeback is always stronger than the setback.
Uh-huh.
um and then an analogy that I use a lot is whenever you feel down and out, remember you have full creative control over your life because you write your own story.
Mm-hmm.
And comebacks can and having setbacks can be really difficult. I remember actually coming to Portugal was off the back of a setback. Was off the back of a setback. And I thought the setback would be really, really awful. But it actually turned out to work in my favor when I realized how could I make it work in my favor. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
now in Portugal. Portugal's been awesome. But like I said, you truly have full creative control of your life because sometimes you feel like life is pulling you around, or
Mhm.
this is happening and this is happening and you have no control. But honestly,
Mhm.
you choose how you respond to it, which is way more important than what happens. You
Right.
choose so many things in your life. And really, and I love writing, so I love this analogy, but you write your own story. You are
Right.
in charge, you're the author. And for painters, you can make your I say, and I whenever I talk to painters or like artists, I tell them, make your life your masterpiece,
Right.
because you have full creative control.
hmm Well, and it's interesting because so many teenagers feel like they don't control anything because their
Mhm,
parents, I mean, certainly like your parents have rules,
mhm.
you can't like legally you can't drive until you're 15, 16, 17, depending on where you are. You can't drink alcohol until certain ages, right? You can't
Mhm.
there are things that you cannot do legally as a
Yeah.
teenager. There are certain things that developmentally teenagers are not ready to do because your bodies and your brains can't yet do it just physiologically. But
Mhm.
on the other hand, your point of you still choose how you respond to it, I think is probably the most important takeaway that a teenager can get from this, especially from a teenager who's in that same space as you are, right? Going
Mhm.
like, look, yeah, you're right. I can't drive myself to soccer practice yet, but that doesn't mean that I can't use that time to my advantage. Like that is the circumstance. Like we all have boundaries within which we need to live, even as adults, right? Like
Yeah.
I can't just go running red lights. There are going to be consequences to that.
Yeah.
I can't just tell my boss to go screw if I have rent due tomorrow, unless I've got some belief or plan or something that'll work out. But I choose how I respond in that
Mhm.
situation. So I think that piece right there for every teenager out there, like, yeah, maybe you do have the meanest parents on the face of the planet. Maybe they aren't going to let you go to that party or do the thing or whatever, but you still have the capacity to choose how you respond in the situation.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I like love this analogy, because I find that even when I tell people this, it can help them create breakthroughs and really help them in their own lives, which is why I wanted to include this.
Yeah, love
Um,
it.
yeah, but that is actually the end of my talk, but it's not the
Awesome.
end of what I'm giving you though, because I
Awesome.
want to say thank you for having
Uh-huh.
me on, and to all the people who are watching. So what I did was I have this free Notion template, visualization template, and Notion is just basically an all-in-one platform where you can do everything, from organize your life, make lists, um, and make websites. Even my website is built completely on Notion.
Awesome.
But you can make templates, and basically what this is it's a visualization template that I use myself, and it helps you with your why, actionable steps you need to take, and just getting crystal clear on what you want to achieve. So if you want to go see, get this template for free,
Yep.
you just need to type in that HTTPS, all
Yep.
that stuff.
Perfect.
Yeah, and then we'll see a Gumroad link, and you can just put 0 in there and then get that template for free.
Awesome.
Um,
And I'm actually going to type that into the comments here so that folks
yes.
can see it. But awesome. Um, any other final thoughts, Jack?
No, I don't think so. I think that I
Awesome.
covered pretty much everything. Um,
Awesome.
and yeah, and thank you again for having me on. And I hope everyone listening, um, got a value out of this.
I can't imagine that they didn't. And it's again, I understand that like adults listening to this may be a little bit like, okay, but you know, he's 14. How much experience has he had? You're right. He's had 14 years. And everything that he has shared is completely in line with every other life coach that I've ever worked with or interviewed. And if Jack's got the persona that's going to work for your kid, why not have somebody like Jack on your team to work with your kiddo? You know what I mean? So I'm going to say thank you to Jack. I'm having a dickens of a time trying to get this silly link up there with my keyboard, but I'm going to remind folks that I'm going to say thank you to Jack, and I'm going to say reminder that this is a fundraiser. Jack has given of his time and his knowledge today to um to help us help more families. So up until yesterday, with the conversation I had with our trusted expert Heidi Conway, where I said this would be the point to have a shameless request, it is no longer a shameless request, because why would I be shameful about asking for help to support kids and support families? So it is a loving request The shameless request is gone. It's now a loving request to say, hey, if you got something out of this, and we actually just had somebody comment saying, my son will so relate better to him than to an adult. I totally agree. If you feel like you got something out of this, you can follow the link in the description over to make a donation through Jack's link. We do have a little bit of a friendly contest going on amongst all of our presenters. The contest itself ends tomorrow because tomorrow is Father's Day here in the US. But basically, for any of our presenters, whoever our fundraisingist presenter is, we are going to donate 20% of whatever funds come in through their link to a nonprofit entity of their choice that helps kids and families. And you had mentioned, Jack, an organization called Young Minds. Can you give them a quick shout out and tell us why they're important to you?
So I just think what they do is also really, really cool because they give a lot of free information about mental health, and there's a lot of when I came across it, I was really wowed because they have so many sections on different areas of mental health and maybe where you're struggling.
Mm-hmm.
And they gave you really, really good information and showed you why that's happening. And I just really liked their site and what they do because I think they provide a lot of great value to teens who really need that extra help at the moment.
Awesome.
So yes, so if you gain something, a loving request to please donate because it helps the Parent Tween Foundation help more families and teens and tweens. And also, if I'm the fundraisingist, then also as well, Young Minds.
Awesome. I love it. Jack, thank you so much. Number one, for joining me today. Number two, actually, I should say number one, for doing what you do. Obviously, you're the rare breed of young adult who has a mindset like this to begin with. Never mind taking the initiative. I know you said your parents are entrepreneurs, so I know you had some models that came before you to want to help more people. I love that you're doing it. Thank you for your time. Thanks to everybody out there for tuning in. And I'm going to wish everyone a fantastic rest of the day. Thanks so much for being with me.
Yes, thank you.